All right, we're going to call our school board hearing to order at this time. I want to welcome all of you here this evening. I would ask at this time if you would please silence any cell phones that you have with you. And I would ask that you please stand for our invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance. God, we come before you tonight and we thank you for this great opportunity we have to serve our community. We ask that you just provide wisdom and discernment to each person tonight, that we might make decisions that are both honoring and pleasing to you, as well as in the best interest of those that have entrusted the care of this district to us. It's in Christ's name that I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And Dahlia Translation Services.
My name is Dalia Medina. I'm here to provide translation services. Mi nombre es Dalia Medina. Estoy aquí para proveer servicio de traducción. Gracias.
Thank you. And just so you know as well, Mr. Brown, Mr. Wheeler is on his way, and I've mentioned that because I know that we need to have a roll call vote for our items this evening.
Yes, sir.
So we are at a public hearing. Mr. Cease, I'll go ahead and welcome you up at this point in time to go through the presentation of the first public hearing regarding our millage rate and tentative budget.
Thank you. Members of the board, this is the first public hearing on the proposed millage rates and tentative budget for fiscal year 2014-15. The superintendent has stated that the 2014-15 school year marks an exciting time for Osceola County School District. Our district continues to maintain a strategic focus on providing the highest quality of educational experience for our children within a framework and economic responsibility to the citizens of Osceola County. It is through the strongest collaboration among students, parents, staff, school board members, and the community that we take student achievement to new heights this year. This is reflected in the documents that will be presented tonight. The public hearing on the tentative budget tonight will cover remarks regarding the proposed millage and budget, public and board member comments, adoption of the resolution setting the proposed total millage levy to support the 2014-15 tentative budget, adoption of the resolution approving the 2014-15 tentative budget, adoption of the 2014-15 policy regarding the expenditure of lottery funds, authorize the superintendent to perform necessary actions to comply with truth and millage requirements. In closing, announce the date of the final public hearing for adoption of the 2014-15 budget. First, I will start with a few definitions. What is a trim? The truth and millage legislation was enacted in 1980, and the requirements are detailed under Section 200.065 Florida State statutes. The statute dictates the form, size, and the placement of the budget advertisements, as well as the order of business during the budget hearing. Term requires 2 public hearings for open discussion of the millage rates and the proposed budgets of all taxing authorities. What is a mill? A property tax levy of $1 per 1,000 of taxable property value. So 1 mill equals 0.001. $100,000 times 0.001, or 1 mill, equals $100. The Florida Education Finance Program is a mechanism by which state and local funds are allocated to Florida school districts. The Florida legislature sets the required local effort millage and the prior period funding adjustment millage rates that must be levied by the school board. The school board must levy the required local effort millage and the prior period funding adjustment millage in order to receive any state funding under the Florida Education Finance Program. The total proposed millage related to school funding for the 2014-15 school year is 7.375 mils. This millage would generate revenue for the general, operating, and capital outlay funds. As previously mentioned, the millage rates are determined by the Florida legislature, and this is the maximum millage that the school board is allowed to levy without a specific voter-approved referendum. We must levy the required local effort and the prior period of funding adjustment to receive approximately $215 million in state FEFP funding. In addition, we must levy the full basic discretionary millage to receive $9.7 million in compression funding from the state. The proposed total millage rate related to school funding for the 2014-15 fiscal year is 7.375 mils, which represents a decrease of 0.134 mils from the 2013-14 rates. As required by TRIM, we must compare the proposed millage rate to the rollback rate. What is the rollback rate? The rollback rate is the millage rate that would generate the same amount of revenue as last year if applied to the current year adjustable taxable value, or tax value. Under TRIM, the rollback rate is the basis for determining if tax rates have increased or decreased. This next slide illustrates the change in our proposed tax rates under TRIM requirements. Current state law rollback rate is 4.9914 mils. The current proposed state law rate for 2014-15 is 5.127 mils. The proposed rate as a percentage change from the rollback rate is an increase of 2.72%. The rollback rate for the total millage rate is 7.1242 mils. The proposed total millage rate for the 2014-15 school year is 7.375 mils. The proposed total rate as a percentage change from the rollback rate is an increase of 3.52%. This next slide shows Osceola County tax levy will increase by $7.8 million for school-related taxes in 2014-15 as compared to the prior year. However, this is $3.2 million less than the 2010-11 school year. So what does this mean for the individual taxpayer of Osceola County? How are my taxes computed? The taxable value of a homeowner's property equals the assessed value as determined by the Osceola County Property Appraiser's Office, less the $25,000 homestead exemption if applicable. What is the homestead exemption? This is an amount established by law for properties used as the owner's primary residence that is exempt from ad valorem tax. It is normally $25,000. The portion of property tax related to school funding equals the taxable value, divided by 1,000 times the school district's millage rate. Therefore, in this example, a homeowner with assessed value of $125,000 with a homestead exemption will pay $737.50 of ad valorem property tax to Osceola County related to school funding. This next slide reflects the changes in school-related property taxes for a typical Osceola County homeowner over the last several years. How will your taxes change? The following example incorporates Save Our Homes legislation as provided in Section 193.155 Florida statutes, which regulates annual increases in the assessed value to the lower of the following: 3% of the assessed value of the property for the prior year, or the percentage change in the consumer price index. As with this example, a home valued at $150,000 in 2010 would have paid roughly $964.38 in school-related property tax. If they qualified for Save Our Homes in 2010, by 2014-15 school year, the estimated assessed value would be around $161,876. Based on this valuation, their estimated school-related property tax would be $1,009.49. This is a decrease over the 2013 tax year by 32 cents, for a 4-year cumulative change of $45.11, or a 4-year average change of $11.28 per year. Now let's focus from the taxes to the budget you will be adopting tonight. The key items in the budget have previously been shared with you. The changes between this budget and the budget presented at the meeting on July 15th are due to the FEIP second calculation, adjustment, and the certification of the final tax roll. Other minor fund challenges are a result of the 2013-14 year-end close preliminary work. FEIP and tax revenues in the 2014-15 budget are $18.8 million more than in the 2013-14 year. Funding per student will be $172, or 2.64% more than the prior year. This next slide shows where we're heading. As we close out the 2013-14 school year, we are projecting an operating loss of $5.8 million in the general fund. This is lower than originally planned, as projects such as the TICO-related projects won't be expensed until the 2014-15 school year, when those outstanding projects come to a close, and other miscellaneous lapses. In the long-range forecast, if we continue current patterns of spending, we can maintain a healthy level of reserves and begin operating in the black by the 2015-16 school year. Unfortunately, no one can predict where we're heading with absolute certainty. Our long-range projections are reasonable estimates that are based on the state's continuing efforts to fund public education at a minimum increase of 2.5% change over the prior year, and not adding any unfunded mandates. This is the district's total budget in summary form. The general fund is the main form from which most operating expenses are paid. In addition, tonight the board will approve budgets for the debt service fund, which is used to pay for outstanding bonds of the district, capital project funds, which account for major construction projects, special revenue fund, which consists of food service, federal grants, and extended day programs, internal service fund, which accounts for district self-insurance property casualty insurance programs. This slide represents the total tentative budget at the level of detail you will be adopting tonight, with some minor adjustments due to the second FEIP calculation and year-end close work. This summary includes the internal service funds, which is not included in the budget advertisement that you saw on Sunday. This is the same level of detail for which you approve budget amendments during the course of the year. Mr. Chairman, this is a time you have to ask if there are any questions or speakers for public discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Cease. As mentioned, this is a public hearing, so at this time I would open it up. If anybody from the public would like to address the school board and speak on this matter, I'd invite you at this time. Okay, hearing and seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for any discussion. Board, do you have anything you'd like to add to this conversation? Mr. Wheeler?
And I apologize for being late, board. I had a minor teenage daughter emergency. Todd, I'm sure you mentioned it, but I just wanted to make sure that it was mentioned before I got here, that the numbers that we got to adopt for the state gives us numbers. If we don't, we forfeit state funding. Did you review that?
I heard the first part of your sentence, but for some reason
the numbers that the state really dictates what the taxable rate is going to be, and we have to adopt their numbers in order for us to receive state funding.
that is a correct statement.
Okay, I just want to make sure that that's clear, that the state really tells us we can turn it down and forfeit state funding, but we can't afford to do that. I'm not suggesting we do it. That's all I've got, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Wheeler. Mrs. Horn?
Todd, I'd just like to commend you and your department for doing a good job. I think that we need to be thankful for where we're at right now. We've had a finance department that has been very frugal for a long time. We have not closed any schools, and we haven't laid off people, so I think we've got a lot to be proud of in Osceola County. Thank you.
My staff and I thank you for that comment.
Thank you, Mrs. Horn. Mr. Long?
I'd like to piggyback on that same sentiment. This has been a volatile, dynamic financial year, the last 12 months. I've seen a lot of different things outside of the school district that gave me pause and panic. Again, I'd like to commend your department for doing a fantastic job to bring this in.
Thank you.
Thank you. My quick comment would be, of course, everyone appreciates the work that you and your staff do, but also it's important to note that this board has been very purposeful about making sure that we don't increase the burden on the citizens of Osceola County, and that we work within the confines of what's already been established and set to us by the state with the required local effort. So we're operating as lean as we can and looking to try to find areas that we can save, as well as working off of reserves to make sure that we don't have to put any additional burden on the taxpayers. And I think that's an important note to make tonight. Thank you. Okay, board, this is a roll call vote on the budget and the millage rates. So, Mrs. Culver?
And I'm going to walk us through that part.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Resolution 15007. We recommend the board adopt Resolution 15007, setting the required local effort, prior funding adjustment, and discretionary millages for the 2014-15 as follows. Required local effort, 5.104 mils. Prior period funding adjustment, 0.023 mils. Basic discretionary operating, 0.748 mils. Basic discretionary capital outlay, 1.500 mils. Total, 7.375 mils. The total millage rate to be levied exceeds the rollback rate by 3.52%. Mr. Chairman, the resolution requires a roll call vote.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Culver?
Mr. Wheeler?
Aye.
Mr. Soto?
Aye.
Mr. Weissier?
Aye.
Ms. Horn?
Aye.
Mr. Long?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Cease?
We recommend the board approve Resolution 15-008, adopting the tentative budget in the amount of $799,566,430. Mr. Chairman, this resolution requires a roll call vote.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Culver?
Mr. Wheeler?
Aye.
Mr. Soto?
Aye.
Mr. Weissier?
Aye.
Ms. Horn?
Aye.
Mr. Long?
Aye.
We recommend that the board approve the policies and procedures for the expenditure of lottery funds as listed in this slide. Mr. Chairman, this requires a regular vote.
Thank you. Board, this is a regular vote, so at this time we're looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second with discussion.
Thank you, board. We do have a motion by Mr. Long with a second by Mr. Wheeler. Discussion, Mr. Wheeler?
Todd, and not that we're getting a lot of lottery money before, but the lottery money seems to be cut in half almost.
Well, we're actually getting some lottery money for other to use as discretionary funds.
Okay.
Yes, where we haven't had that in the past. We received a little bit last year in the 2013-14 year, and we didn't receive anything prior to that. But we are receiving a little bit of money here.
I remember we used to get like 1.5, 1.2 million, which is still, I mean, it's not huge, but it's more than this, so. Okay, that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, board. Any discussion on this item? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Cease.
Finally, we recommend the board authorize the superintendent to perform all tasks necessary to ensure compliance with truth and millage requirements of Chapter 200.065 Florida statutes. Mr. Chairman, this requires a regular
So
vote.
moved.
Thank you, board. There is a motion by Mr. Long with a second by Mr. Wheeler on the approval of the recommendation. Is there any discussion, board? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 5-0. Thank you again for your work, Mr. Cease.
The final public hearing on the 2014-15 budget will be held on Tuesday, September 16, 2014 at 5:30 p.m. in the School District Admin Center at 817 Bill Beck Boulevard, Kissimmee, Florida. This has been changed. It was originally set for September 2nd, But to comply with trim requirements, that was moved to September 16th.
Great, thank you, sir.
And in closing, at this time, I would like to thank staff for their hard work, and especially thanks to the district-wide bookkeepers that make all this happen. And this concludes the public hearing to adopt the 2014-15 proposed millage rates and tentative budget.
Great, thank you. Let it be known, this does conclude our public hearing, so we will adjourn from that, and we will convene now under a board meeting, and I will turn to Mr. Phelps.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Weissteyer, and good evening, school board. Tonight we have 3 administrative appointments for your consideration. Our first administrative appointment is Joanne Dories for assistant principal at Deerwood Elementary School. And if I could ask Mr. White to come up and make this recommendation for me. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Ian Guzanite, principal at Deerwood Elementary, and I have the honor today to nominate Ms. Joanne Dories as our assistant principal at Deerwood. Ms. Dories comes to us. She has a Bachelor of Science degree in elementary and junior education from St. John's University. She has a Master's of Education in elementary ed from UCF, and also a Master's of Education in educational leadership from the American College of Education. She started her teaching career at Cypress Elementary as a 4th grade teacher, and then she went to Pleasant Hill. And during those years, she became a nationally board certified teacher, nominated to represent her school as Teacher of the Year, and was also a district finalist. She was also awarded that year Social Studies Teacher of the Year for Osceola County. In 2004, she became part of the Bella Lago Academy, where she has served as a literacy coach, a learning resource specialist, and currently as a Dean of Students and Testing Coordinator. Deerwood is fortunate to have Joanne Dories join our family.
Motion to
So
approve.
moved. Second.
Great, board, we do have a motion by Mrs. Horn, a second by Mr. Long. Is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Ms. Dories as well, I know you have some friends and peers here supporting you. Anyone else that you'd like to introduce to us, we'd welcome that at this time.
Sure, I have my family, my parents and my sister and nephew are here. My Bella Lago family's here, and now the Deerwood family. So I'm very excited.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Congratulations. You guys basically took over that half of the room, so. Yes. Mr. Phelps?
Thank you. Our next recommendation is for the Coordinator of Custodial and Ancillary Services, and we are making the recommendation for Mike Clark, and I believe that Mr. Wells is going to make that presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, Board, tonight I come forward, last pieces of our restructure for the facilities division. I do want to thank the board and the superintendent leadership for all the support and allowing us to put the pieces back together so we can meet this growth head on. I'm excited about where we're headed. With that, we've added the coordinator of custodial, which we brought at the last board meeting. And I've asked Mr. Clark to fill in for that role. He's unfortunately couldn't make it this evening, but Mike brings a lot of experience that will really help the county in this area, all the areas that will fall under it. He has that experience. With that, that leaves us a vacancy over in maintenance. So without further ado, I would like to bring Mark Cavaney forward to you tonight. Give you a little history on Mark. Mark has been with the district since 1987. Very young when he started, yes. Mark has held the position of general maintenance technician, pest control, health and safety inspector for years, health and safety specialist for years, and then most recently he's been the coordinator of building and fire code. Mark has a bachelor's degree in environmental science from Rollins College. And like I said, 28 years in the district and board. It is with pleasure I bring Mark Cavaney forward tonight as the Director of Maintenance.
So moved.
Second. Discussion.
Thank you, Board. There is a motion by Mr. Long with a second by Mr. Wheeler on the approval. Discussion, Mr. Wheeler?
You can smile.
Well, Mark, first up, whenever you wear a tie, I'm a little worried. But it's okay. I've been on the board obviously a long time. And Mark is one of the few people that no matter what was going on, he spoke his mind. If he thought something was wrong, didn't care what anybody else thought, he was gonna say it. That's one of the things that I love. It's one of the things people don't like about you and like about you. I like it about you, Mark. Don't ever lose that. I'll say this: anybody who's going to work for Mark in that department, as long as you're straight with them, you'll be fine with them. As soon as you're not, you'll have a problem. And Mark, I know you'll do a great job. Mark is one of those people. It's not the knock anyone else, who I can shut my eyes and trust 1,000% all the time. I know you'll do a great job. And if you need any help from me, you got my number.
Thank you.
I'm really pleased you're doing this, Mark.
Board, any other discussion?
I'm also a little leery when I see him wearing a tie. I'm not used to seeing that in the last few years, but I appreciate it, so.
You guys quit picking on Mark.
I definitely have some comments on this one.
I-
We're not getting out
yeah.
here early, I can promise you that. No, I'm kidding. Absolutely kidding. Mark, you're outstanding, and it's really an honor to see you move to this position.
Thank you, sir.
Board, anything else? Okay, we do have a motion, a second. All those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion does carry 5-0. Congratulations.
Good luck, Mark.
I know you have some of your fan club and family here as well, so.
I do. I have my wonderful wife Susan Kennedy and my mother-in-law Donnie Mason, and obviously some good friends. Rhonda and Jason back there. I have to announce them because they are a part of my past life here, and pretty much everybody here, I think. So, thank you very much.
Congratulations, Mark. Sorry.
We have to vote on the coordinator as well.
Okay.
Motion to approve Mike Clark.
Second.
Thank you, Board, and thank you, Mrs. Culver. I appreciate that. So, Board, we do have a motion by Mr. Long with a second by Mr. Wheeler on Mike Clark as well. Is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
That completes it, right?
That is it.
Congratulations to everybody. Board, there is no other items on our business for tonight, and so. at this
Mr.
time-
Weiss, real quick.
Yes, sir.
For a second. Like I said at the beginning, I want to thank the board and everybody, but I think the team that we've put together with Mike over the custodial and ancillary, Mark over maintenance, Rhonda over planning, and bringing John Davis back in for facilities. You've got a good facilities division. I think you can feel confident that you're going to do everything to the best of the district's,
Clyde, I'm just wondering, with all those people now doing all this, what are you gonna do?
Well, figure something out. I don't know.
Clyde and I are going fishing.
You found me out, Jeff.
Telling the truth.
Good job.
We're going fishing
Thank
together,
you.
Clyde.
Quite an organization.
Thank you. Board, anything else? Okay, at this time, we will stand adjourned. Thank you.
That's it, my friend.